Ladies and gents, welcome. We are discussing all of the ways that you can finance buy and hold real estate. So how do you get that money to buy the buy and hold real estate? Because it's not very helpful to know how to do real estate unless you know how to get that money.
That is correct. My name is Philip Sirius. This is Andrew Sirius.
We should probably introduce ourselves. I mean, you don't care. They don't care. They just want the knowledge.
A little bit.
Okay, whatever. The first way is just cash money. And the first, this is a subset. The first one is just be rich, have money. And in which case,
I mean, that is what a lot of people with money do. Is they buy real estate as an investment.
And I'm sure. I mean, this is the kind of knowledge we impart on people. Have money, and then invest that money.
If you invested in Dogecoin a long time ago, then you have the money to now just buy real estate.
Yes. So if you've got that Dogecoin payout, then you're good to go. The other two is just basically saving up cash as you go. Working a job is not a bad thing. Jobs is, from what you hear from the gurus, it's not true. It's okay to have a job. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's fine. Work a job.
Most productive people do.
Most people do. W-2 income, banks love W-2 income.
Yes.
It's much harder. If you don't have 2 years of solid tax returns showing that you have, as an entrepreneur, have consistent income, they're not going to like it very much. But W-2s, they just fall over.
And that's if you want to do our second thing here is get a bank loan, because you could just save up 100% of a purchase. That's a very unrisky way to do it.
These kind of merge together.
Yeah. So it's a very unrisky. If you want to just do 100% cash for a purchase, you have to save up a lot of money. It's going to take a lot of time. You can't have your money in real estate for most of that time. But it's very unrisky. Your return's going to be higher. And you can still invest in real estate. But you got to save a lot and make a lot of money.
A lot of this is about risk tolerance. Yes. I mean, if you one of the best books on real estate investment is The Millionaire Real Estate Investor, and he profiles one couple who just buy houses with a bank loan, then pay off the loan, and then do the next house, and they just have a bunch of free and clear houses. They could have a lot more, but that's not what they want to do. That's fine. So saving and holding is a great way to do it. Also, flipping and holding. Yeah. You don't have to be a flipper or a holder, or buy and holder, whatever you want to call it, exclusively. You can do both. So flip one house, use those proceeds to buy the next to flip to live off of. Flip another house, use those proceeds as the down payment for a third house. Or you could go in wholesaling or be a real estate agent or anything. But just ways to gain money, get that money for those down payments.
Usually, if you have enough dollars, people will trade you a house for those dollars.
I mean, not necessarily in this market.
Enough dollars, that's the problem. So.
And then bank loans, of course, go along with that. And again, W-2 income is the gold standard.
To get a bank loan for an investment property.
Modern day, the lumber standard or the Dogecoin standard, those will probably be dated references soon. I think I bought about a couple $100 of Dogecoin, so maybe, hopefully not. But we'll go into on the best ways to find banks. We have a video on that. We'll put in the description. But we're going through all of them here, so let's run through these. And the next one is very, very useful for people looking to buy their first home. The FHA or 203K, which is the same thing. It's also through through HUD. It's just for 203K is for houses that need rehab, and so there's a rehab escrow that they keep in escrow, and you send them all of your bills for the rehab, and they'll release more money for that. But these loans are extremely low interest rates. I think right now they're in the mid threes, maybe.
Well, I actually got, I did an FHA loan on my personal house. I got a 3.75% loan. This was 5 years ago.
Yeah, interest rates are somehow they're lower now, so they're probably in the mid threes.
And I had to pay 3% down on it. The rules do change every once in a while. I'm not sure if they're exactly the same anymore, but I put 3% down, 3.5%, or 3.75%, 30-year fixed loan.
It's usually about 96.5, but I think it varies by the amount. And they will generally cover any house. There is a maximum, but it's unless you're buying in like San Francisco, you're not going to hit that.
Correct.
And on the investment side, you have to live there for at least a year.
Yeah,
you can't buy it.
Kind of called a house hack in a sense.
These things kind of go together. But anyways. The key thing about the FHA, you have to live there for at least a year. It's a crime not to, so don't think you're going to skirt around this. Very bad idea. But the advantage is you can buy up to a fourplex.
Yeah.
So I think the best way to get your foot in the door, especially if you have a job, have some W-2 income, is look for a fourplex. Buy the fourplex with an FHA loan. You're putting 3.5% down, and live in one of the units and rent out the other 3. After a year, you can move on to the next one.
And then you have 4 units.
Yeah,
that's a really good investment portfolio right there.
And if the market is appreciated, you can refinance it and potentially even get another FHA loan. You can only have one FHA loan at a time. Now, in a subset of this, if you're a veteran, you can get a VA loan, which are similar and also very good rates and very something you should definitely look into if you've been in the armed services. So that would be another little aside there. But FHA is basically a subset of house hacking.
Yes.
Which is probably the best way to do house hacking. But house hacking has become very popular. At least it's popular in like bigger pockets forums.
Yeah.
But it basically, you buy a house, you live in it, you fix it up. This is your side hustle, or you work your job, come home, fix especially if you're handy, work on the house. Once you've got it up and going, you can't flip it, or you can rent it out and go to the next one. I have a friend up in Poughkeepsie, New York. He's done this on 8 different houses around, and he just goes from one to the next to the next. And yeah, it's a very successful strategy, especially in the early
The definition of house hacking is sacrificing in some way to live in a property that's going to eventually become a rental. So either living in something that's not quite all the way fixed up, and that's what you're doing to get it ready so that you can finance it to rent it out, or doing an FHA loan, or doing some kind of way of living in the house for a period of time until you can have it be a functional rental.
It's the sweat equity model of real estate investing, and it's a great way, especially in the early going. These are, the FHA/house hack method is my recommendation probably at least 80% of the time.
My recommendation is the first one is to just be rich.
Yeah, but, that's the best one. I mean,
not everybody has that option, unfortunately.
Just have the money. That's a short video, though.
Yeah,
I'd just be like,
true.
Just have money. Why don't you just have it?
There's still a lot to learn if you're trying to park your money in real estate. Anyways, moving on, another way to loan funds to get into real estate is if you have a house that has equity, kind of on the being rich side, although maybe not
I would
rich.
say this is being on the middle class side.
More likely, but using the equity in your house to invest in real estate, and usually this is called a HELOC, basically getting a line of credit on your house, using the equity in your house to get a line of credit, and then you don't have to pay anything unless you're actually using those funds.
Yeah, and oftentimes they'll give you this as a second behind your first mortgage. You don't even need to pay off your first mortgage. If you paid it off your first mortgage, that's all the better. Use that line of credit as the down payment for the house that you're buying.
Yeah. Well, a really good thing, a lot of real estate's gone up a lot in value recently. So if you bought your house 7-8 years ago and you now want to get into investing in real estate, you might have a ton of equity in your house. You get that HELOC on your house, and you have a bunch of money to work with.
Or if you've got a handful of 2x4s and some plywood sitting out back, you might be able to get a first position mortgage on that lumber.
Or one other thing that you might have bought a while ago that's worth a lot of money.
Doge.
There we go.
Get that Doge. Can you borrow? Get a D-lock?
Some Doge derivatives. Those are coming pretty soon.
A Doge lock.
There we go. But that's another way to get access to funds. I mean, technically, it's wealth that you already have accumulated, but you're turning it into a liquid asset.
We're utilizing that wealth.
Yes,
exactly. We're getting that. We're turning that equity into that money.
And then, once you buy that house, you can then move on to other ways to
absolutely
invest those funds. Another way, if you don't have as much money, you can get into some creative financing.
Yeah, this is an area fraught with guru BS. We'll do it.
All of these are legitimate in some form, but they are spoken about in illegitimate ways.
We'll do a whole video on this, but these are not. Well, the way the gurus talk about it, I was like, listen, you're just going to make millions of dollars by getting homeowners to sell you their house and give you financing for or whatever.
They just use the word subject to like it's magic.
Yeah,
and it makes you
it's not magic. But seller financing is just the seller loans back the amount of money to buy the house. Yeah. Subject to, you got to be careful with this one, because what you're doing is you're assuming an unassumable loan. Now, a handful of loans are assumable, but most are not. They have a due on sale clause, and the lender has the right to call that loan due and make you pay the whole thing.
Yeah.
But what this would do is they stay in place on the mortgage, and you start making.
You just start paying their mortgage, and the mortgage stays on the house.
So it's a subject to, because you're buying the property subject to existing financing. We just know the banks have the right to do it. They usually don't, but I have certainly heard of them doing it.
This might be a difficult one to do in a really, really upswing of a market too.
Yeah, all of these can be tricky. Yeah. Contract for deed, also in some states it's a land sales contract. It's basically property. You get an equitable interest in the property. It's very similar to seller financing. So this is just another option to consider. The big problem with all of these is it's very, very difficult to get any money for rehab.
Yeah.
A seller usually will want you to put at least some down. We've done 100% seller financing properties, but if we're buying a house for $100,000, or in this market like $300,000, no, say $100,000, it needs $25,000 of rehab. You're very rarely going to find a seller who will lend you more than they're selling the property to.
Well, and even then you become a less competitive buyer if they're going to lend to you, but they can sell to someone else for cash. And it's in a hot market where they have a ton of buyers already. It's hard to be competitive looking for seller finance.
These are useful tools to have in your tool belt, but the gurus oversell them.
And it's very hard to scale them. It's hard to do 100 seller financing. It's not impossible. It's hard.
So I mean, a lot of them were doing or lease options. Another one, they're doing sandwich lease options and subject to, where then you sell it again. And just messy stuff that I generally recommend against.
Now, our favorite is the next one, which is getting private loans, which is basically turning somebody else into a bank. Basically, any other person that is not institutional money of any kind.
We could consider hard money loans in this category too. Hard money lenders are tough, though. They usually charge 12 to 15% interest, 3 to 5 points.
It turns a good deal into a mediocre deal, a mediocre deal into a bad deal.
Yeah, or even more. They also usually got to pay for appraisal, and it's just endless costs. Mm-hmm. You have to have a very good deal to make those make sense. With private lenders, who could be just about anybody, a dentist, a lawyer.
They have to have enough Dogecoin to be able to.
They've got some Dogecoin or cash or lumber, then they might be able to lend to you. But yeah, a lot of people have their money in a CD. They're afraid to put it in the stock market because it's volatile, and they're afraid to put it into Dogecoin because they don't know what that is. And so, these people are often willing to lend money, especially so it's good to rub shoulders with people. We'll do a video on just talking, finding private lenders, but talking to people, telling them that you're investing in real estate, that you lend money. That's the first step, telling people what you're doing. And we usually offer 8%. In the past, we've done 9%. We've gone up to 10% on when money was difficult to come by. You can offer. We don't offer any points, but you could conceivably offer a point if you need to sweeten the pot. That's just 1% up front. So if you're doing a $100,000 loan, you pay them $1,000 when you get the loan out. But this strategy works particularly well with the BRRRR strategy.
Correct.
The buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. So if you're buying at a 75% all in or less, you can buy, get a private loan, do the rehab, then go to a bank once it's seasoned, so the bank will allow you to refinance at the appraised value instead of the amount of cash you have into it. Then if you do it right, and it's not, you should have some cash in the bank just in case. These are not...
Doesn't go right every time.
It does not go right
as much as everybody says it does,
But if you do it right, you will refinance out your entire investment. You'll be able to pay off a private lender, do it on another property, and have a property with none of your own money into it.
Now, there's a great thing about private loans and a terrible thing. The terrible thing is it's really hard.
Yeah.
It's not easy, especially when you're getting into it, because you find the great deal, but you don't have anybody with the money. You find someone with a bunch of money, but you don't have a deal. It's really hard to match these things up and get into it. It's a real challenge for people. The great thing about it is it's pretty much infinite. As long as you find great deals and find people with money, there's nothing stopping you from doing more and more.
Yeah, because they keep wanting that return.
And you keep finding more people with money, and if you can find more deals, you can always match these things up. It's always hard to do, but
we'll be doing a video on private lenders exclusively, so mark that in your calendar, even though I don't know when we'll put it up. It will be soon-ish, around then. Likewise, with private lenders, you can also do partnerships. If you know somebody with money, you can do a partnership where they put the money in, you do the work, and then you split the profits or split the equity. And so there's a billion ways to do this.
You can do a joint venture. You can just do it actually.
Yeah. Definitely would want to talk to an attorney about this beforehand. But it's another option, especially if you have a money bags type guy, someone not who wants to do one loan, but who would like to do a lot of these. I would not want to have 10 houses with 10 different partners. But if you have one who wants to do quite a few, that would make good sense.
Or it's good for a bigger project. You have a 10-plex or something like that you want to go in on, and that's a big deal for you. then yeah, get someone to do a joint venture with, or to split the equity.
And if you're doing
with the
larger
money.
apartments or commercial properties, syndications become a good option. Although we don't have time to get into that. That'll be another video.
I mean, that would be like a series, basically.
Yeah, we'll do a series on it. Well, I mean, this is like the intro to the series of how to get that money.
Yeah.
The Get That Money series.
Yeah.
The next one is an ICO. You can start your own Dogecoin. Or maybe
Initial
lumber
coin
coin. Yeah,
offering.
initial coin offering. You know, like maybe a lumber coin.
So you could scam people into making enough money to be rich and then invest in real estate.
Yeah, just get some blockchain or some block lumber maybe. Yeah, so that should work. I think that has. I mean, if the Doge can work.
Basically, I mean, there's a bunch more ways.
Wait, what's
to get
the
money.
new one? NFTs.
Oh yeah.
A non-fungible token. Yeah, do that.
By the way, we are selling a non-fungible token of this video. It will be up in 24 hours. Minimum bid is $10,000. We are going to turn that money into...
Can you sell a non-fungible token of a non-fungible token?
I don't know why not. They are non-fungible, though. I don't know.
Can we do an ICO of an NFT?
Probably.
Nice. Okay, that will be our next project.
But anyways, there's lots and lots of ways. These aren't all of them. This is not exclusive. These are probably the most common ways. Just an introduction to get your mind thinking about all the ways you might want to get involved in it and to get into real estate. And, the best way to do it... It's just Dogecoin. That's the best.
No, the best way to do it is to subscribe. Dogecoin comes in second. So subscribe to the channel, like, share, all those other fun things, and we will see you next time.
Dogecoin.